We are back. Thanks for staying with us. It's time for us to go through the front pages of the newspaper. And of course, I've got Titi with me here. We'll be doing this together. Hey,
Yes, we
Titi.
will.
How you doing?
Good, good, good. Quite a
Okay.
lot happening on the covers of the papers
Yes,
today.
quite a lot happening. Now, let's start off with the Punch newspaper,
Yeah,
shall we?
yeah.
And making the headlines here, we have governors, ministers meet today to stop hunger protests. On the riders here, reps ask federal governments to embrace dialogue as Tinubu sues for peace. Abiodun Uzodinma Bauchi government condemned planned rally. Obaf Benin urges patience. And right here at the bottom of the paper, it's a picture story of a plane crash. Pilot hospitalized as plane crash kills 18 in Nepal. That's a pretty sad story there. And foreign education, forex allocation tumbles 83%, says the CBN. Residents groan over Lagos Air Force Base blackouts. And all your plans, fresh selection process for Alafi. And at the top of the paper here, mayhem as Fubara Wike supporters clash in Rivers. And Dangote local refineries to end fuel importation. And right here, just by the corner here, federal government scholars decry 56% allowance courts, fear expulsion. And that's all we have on the front covers of the Punch newspaper. But quickly, let's banter a little bit about the supposed protest. There's reports of the hashtag end bad governance in Nigeria protests, which is supposed to begin on the 1st of August next month. And, there's been reports of those protests, and there's quite a list of demands, that they're asking for the federal government to look into.
Yeah.
And one of them is inflation. We've seen how, inflation has increased over the months, between last month. In this month, there's been, I think, a 5% increase in inflation. The price has gone up, and it's something that really needs to be looked into.
So obviously, I don't think there's any true Nigerian that isn't feeling it to a certain extent.
Yeah.
The hike in prices cuts across all social strata, and to be honest, some say that they expected this to have happened sooner than, before it got to this particular extent, before the inflation got to this level. People expected it sooner, and I do think there have been talks and efforts being made to make sure that, at least some effort being put into making sure that inflation was better handled than it has been. But the truth is, all over the world, people speak up. And when it comes to hunger, that is a key area where everyone wants to speak up.
Yes.
You have some families eating just once a day, and surviving and still going out to work every day with a smile on their face. I saw a message from a domestic worker saying that his transport fare, was more expensive than food. So he had to pick which one he was going to do, whether he was going to eat today or whether he was going to go out to work.
Yeah.
So it is really troubling. The truth is, we just pray for it to be peaceful, for the actual message to be passed across, and for it to not be hijacked by negative influences.
Yeah,
exactly.
and we've even the president has, also asked for peace, and he's saying that, this is something they're going to meet about and they're going to look into. But let's take another paper. You want to take?
Sure. I have The Nation here.
Okay.
Now, it says on the cover of The Nation, no to planned protests, similar to NSAS, governors warn. Don't overheat the polity. Oba of Benin says give government more time. We've just basically spoken on this already from the other paper. There's still quite a few other stories here as well. It says here, top left, most wanted Lagos drug baron nabbed after gun duel. I think we had that story even in our news bulletin earlier on. Southeast Development Commission excites Ohaneze governors. Ibadan Airport upgrade for completion in 18 months. Trial of 300 terrorism suspects resumes. And it says here also, Labour Party accuses its elected members of being behind crisis. Edu, on the 2024 budget, says here it will be fully implemented. Let's see what else we have. Here, Sanwo-Olu seeks more investment in IT, healthcare, and transportation. And right at the bottom there, Livestock Reforms Panel report on farmer-herder conflict ready in 2 weeks. And that's what it says on the cover of The Nation.
Okay. So I think we've touched on the protest
already. Yes.
Here, right,
I find it interesting, the Ibadan airport. And not a lot of people remember that there is an airport in Ibadan.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, once this airport gets off the ground, it'll put a lot, it'll relieve the pressure on the Lagos airport.
Yeah, well,
it should, yeah, because a lot of people that are coming to a lot of the states that are close to Lagos obviously come through Lagos.
Through Lagos, and then they have to travel, by road.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Ibadan is one of the big. In fact, it's a huge city.
It is.
For it to not have an airport, to be honest, a good enough airport.
Yeah, but it's a good thing that the government is looking into it.
18 months. Well, we will be counting down.
Yeah. Let's look at the Guardian newspaper, making the headlines here, still on inflation. Well, we talked about that earlier on. Tough times for poor Nigerians as food inflation worsens malnutrition. You can find more of that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Right here, just at the corner, we have 100 under 5 children die every hour. 2 million suffer acute malnutrition. That's a pretty sad one. Nigeria loses $1.5 billion of its GDP to malnutrition yearly. And UNICEF urges federal governments to introduce food subsidy, reduce taxes. Federal government stakeholders propose $60 million to tackle malnutrition. And right here at the bottom of the paper, still on the planned protests, SGF meets Tinubu's cabinet as APC holds emergency meeting. And here, NDLEA nabs Lagos drug baron after years of evading arrest. And Dangote refinery may accelerate closure of Europe's existing 90 refineries. And also here, complaints against corrupt public officials up by 29%. You can find more of that story on page 30 of the newspaper. Meta, the list 63,000 Facebook accounts over sextortion scams.
Wow.
Quite interesting. I saw that story yesterday, and I'm like, well done, Mark Zuckerberg. Well done. And also here, federal government resumes mass trial over terrorism suspects. And Nance kicks as federal government clashes allowance of scholars abroad. And finally, OPS faults fresh MPR hike foresees shutdown of more businesses. Now, that is quite an interesting one for a lot of businesses right here in Nigeria, because over the months, we have seen quite a number of businesses shut down. Local producers are complaining of not being able to, sustain, their businesses because they are not able to buy the cost of items that they need, for their products. And it's pretty sad.
It is.
And let's look at malnutrition a little bit.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I was going to touch on the fact that, one of the most well-known businessmen all over the world,
Dangote, yes.
He's been speaking up a lot. He has been on social media almost back to back. I think every week for the past 3 weeks, if not more.
Yes.
He's speaking at different events and on camera. And when you think about it, people are probably wondering why he's speaking up now.
Yeah.
He's called out a lot of people who he says have invested outside the country and could be investing here.
Here, yes.
He's also mentioned things like, the fact that people expect him to now go into other sectors. But there is room for other people to come and invest in Nigeria as well. So why is there so much pressure on him as a businessman to go into those sectors when there's so many other amazing Nigerian business people. I'm not going to say businessmen now.
Yeah. Well, I think his major cry out has been to the federal government because he's been, asking for their support. The initial agreement was for them to, support, but right now he's not getting that support that he needs, even after so much, investment has been put into the refineries.
Yeah.
And it's almost hitting the ground running as well. And also addressing, the fuel subsidy issue that we have been, that's, also affected the cost of fuel. We, we were hoping, that this was, was going to put some bit of stability, in the oil and gas industry. But apparently that's not happening. And he's not even getting a lot of, foreign investors as he would have expected because of, the reputation.
And the state of the economy.
On the state of the economy as well.
Companies are leaving
exactly.
as opposed to coming in.
Yeah, so that is, some of the challenges. He's been, like you said, he's been on,
He's been talking
a rant.
Yeah. He's been talking a lot, but you can also see he's passionate about it, and I think if anyone is going to speak up, it would be him.
Yeah, but
if anyone was going to be listened to, it should be him. And of course, a lot of young people in this generation look up to him as one of the the businessmen to emulate.
So if already, I mean, this is one of the most successful and wealthiest businessman in Africa. If he's crying out, imagine what other small business owners are having to go through. Ones that have to shut down their businesses, one whose families, have been relying on them, as, their businesses being their only source of income. Imagine what they have to go through. I'm really hoping that this is also a cry for help for, the federal government to really look into, creating that enabling environment for businesses to thrive in Nigeria.
Hopefully we will get there. We are definitely going to be following up with all those stories soon enough. But I think we're wrapping it up on the headlines, yes?
Yes, that's it on the front pages this morning. Of course, you can get the papers, at your nearest vendor nearby, or you can also find them online as well. And that's it on the front pages for now. The show continues shortly, guys. Stay with us.